Hello everyone and Sat Shri Akal to everybody. Today I am here to explain the three formulas that we are opposing here in Punjab and here in Haryana, here in UP and in many other states of India. But still we find a demand of explaining these laws in English so that many non-Punjabi, non-Hindi speaking people can also understand what our grievances are and why we are so particular about repealing of these laws. We are demanding that these three form laws, these should be repealed outrightly. We don't want any amendments in them. Now government is pushing that in every negotiation they are trying to push in that you can have any length of amendments. They have already sorted out some 7, 8, 9 points on which they want to say that they can make amendments, they can make announcements about those amendments, but they are not ready to repeal the laws. But on the other hand, the farm organizations have already again and again they have repeated the demand that we need a repeal. Why? These three formulas, they are so very essential, so very basic attack on the very farming sector that they will outrightly change the scenario structurally and permanently. I'll try to explain how. One law is, which by name it goes, the law is the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Act 2020. Now this law is basically trying to create a new market. What government is saying is they want to say that only we are creating a new private market. We are not doing away with the old system of APMC. Now what we want to say is that this is the practical experience of which whole world has seen, and we in India have already witnessed it very recently, that whenever a private sector comes up parallel to a public sector, we find that the public sector is wound up within a few years, and we find that only the private sector, it monopolizes and even it utilizes the spaces, the resources which are created by the public sector over and over years and which is owned by the public. But at the same time, the private sector use that space, use that resource and monopolize the whole sector in such a way that finally the public sector is done away with. This we have seen in transport in many states, particularly in Punjab. We have seen the depletion of the public transport vis-a-vis the private ones. Similarly, we have seen the depletion of BSNL and VSNL, MTNL, all these services. We have found them depleting. We have seen the whole history of these from the very rise of these institutions to the depletion of these institutions, finally yielding of the way out to the public, to the private players. So the same thing we are very sure will happen to the APMCs, to the mandis that we already have. So this is the main gist of our opposition to this law. Now, the government is trying to say that you can push in some amendments. What we want to say is that this law is introducing the private mandi. This law is introducing the private player into the purchase of farm goods, farm produce. So we don't want the private player at all there, because we know it very well that as soon as the private player enters, it will make its own way. The free market, the policies, the very idea, the very logic of the free market, that will definitely push the public market or the government market back. And the government, which is introducing a law to entertain the private players, a parallel to a public player, how can we expect that government not to favor the private ones? They are definitely going to, they are already favoring the private ones. They are already facing the opposition of their own masses, their own voters. They are already facing that opposition. They are already pushing the limits of people's agitation. So we don't expect these governments to not favor the private players. So this is the opposition to the first law. Same way, we have the other law which is supposed to amend the Essential Commodities Act 1955. Now, the Essential Commodities Act was made in a particular context, and that context was that the food items must not be monopolized by anybody. It developed in a context where we used to witness the food riots. We had many number of food riots all over India. We had those in past. People were dying and the food items were lying in the stores, in the godowns of some Dhanna Seths. And now, when we have many and larger Dhanna Seths here, like those of Reliance and Adani's, Ambani's, and from the international players like Walmart. Now when we have them in fray, so how can we expect them not to monopolize the food? They are trying to monopolize the food. For now, Adani has to remain satisfied with only handling the FCI godowns. And why won't Adani want to own those FCI godowns? Why won't Adani want to own the food grain that is lying on those grounds? For now, or before these laws were passed, Adanis could not store that. Nobody could own the food grain in such large quantities. But now, when the Essential Commodities Act has been amended to disclude all the food items from it, our cereal grains, our these pulses, almost every food item that we use regularly, that has been removed from the essential commodities list, which means that now all these essential commodities can be stored in whatever number, in whatever volume a private player wants to. And we have private players in the market who can single-handedly purchase the whole produce of a state or two states or three states. With such large capacities of storage and such large capacity of capital investment, we expect that this food grain market will very soon, they will monopolize it, they will quickly monopolize it, and they will definitely own the whole food grains. And once the food grains is monopolized, once they are there in the godowns owned and operated by the Adanis, Ambanis and Walmarts and everybody, and we don't expect the poor people to have sufficient food in their platter. So this law has to be opposed. This amendment has to go. This new amendment act that has to be repealed outrightly. Same with the third act, which is called Farmer Empowerment and Protection Agreement on Price Assurance. And this Price Assurance and Farm Services, this act is particularly which is trying to build a framework for the contract farming. Now, why is contract farming essential? Contract farming is essential because there are players, there are capitalists in the market who want to decide what to produce and what not to produce, who want to make the agriculture business a real profitable business. So all those people want land. And how they are going to get land? Either they have to purchase it, or they have to rope in the small players, small farmers into a contract. So in both cases, the other two acts which I just explained, those acts will set the stage for the small producer, the small farmer to move out of agriculture, which is already the trend. In Punjab. We have already in hand data which says that the number of farm holding has slid down from 13 lakhs to about 9 lakhs. So about 3 to 4 lakhs farm holders, they have moved out of farming. They have to lose farming as a livelihood method. So they have moved on to, there's a study by Dr. Sukhpal which says that the changing pattern of Punjab labor pattern. So the labor pattern has shifted from farm agriculturist to some taxi workers, some drivers, some rickshaw pullers, all these things. So this is going to happen even at larger scale. People are going to be pushed out of farming, and how they are going to be pushed, they need to be roped into a contract first. So these contract laws, they are being made just to facilitate the companies to rope in the small farmers. And small farmers are already being organized, like in Karnataka, the case of FPOs. There are a number of FPOs in Karnataka and all over India. Since 2013, we are seeing a rise in number of FPOs. The government is bringing out multiple policies in order to rope in the farmers into FPOs. And what these farm producer organizations are doing, they are just playing a bridge between the small farmer and the procurement agencies like Reliance and Adani's and everybody. So recently we have seen a published news in Times of India which says that Reliance has made a purchase deal with an FPO of Maharashtra, Raichur, and that is basically claiming to be more than MSP, 82 rupees more than the MSP. They have sealed the deal. But we have seen what the whole process is there. I'd like to explain that process with you. That process means that all those 1,000 plus farmers who are registered with that FPO, those farmers are going to produce for the FPO. FPO is going to store the whole food grain, whatever the produce is, and then it is going to supply 1,000 quintals out of that to Reliance. Reliance has sealed that deal. And Reliance will engage a third party company to ascertain the required quality. The quality standard which they have maintained is that is 16% of moisture. We already have a very difficult standard of 20% or 19%, which we are often not being able to meet in Punjab. So a hard standard like 16% moisture is going to devastate the farmers. Nobody is going to meet through that standard, and whosoever meets through that standard will have to wait for a long time, during which the 16% moisture will be met. So during that wait period, people will not get the money for their purchase. And see, they have introduced two middlemen into it. One is the third-party quality assurance company, and the other is the FPO CEO itself. FPO management itself is behaving as a middleman. It is going to store the farmer's produce, and it is going to liaison with Reliance. And further, when Reliance will make the purchase, when the purchase will be done through, after assuring the quality, whatever the produce meets the quality standard will be procured by Reliance, and that will be paid for. And then Reliance will pay into the FPO's account, and FPO will deduct a 1.5% commission, and the other money is going to the farmer's account. Now this whole process tells us that one, the middleman is not going to leave. Rather, we have more organized and more monopolized middlemen in our kitty now. They have been introduced. Rather, they are more, we can say, they are more corporate type of middlemen now. Other thing is that this whole system, this enables the company to make a contract which can finally be broken by the company because of quality. And on the other hand, the farmer itself, the producer itself, remains with very little option. Even they have not, for now, in the current form, this law does not carry an option of farmer going to court. Farmer cannot go to court as the law stands today. Though the government has offered to make a change in this, amendment in this, but look at the intention government originally has. It originally has an intention that farmer should not go to the court. So that court option has not been added. It's not like the government was not aware of Article 32. Article 32 makes it mandatory right of every Indian person to go to any court for justice. So that has been ignored by the government while making this law. Why? Because of the intention it has. So looking at that intention, we clearly find that this law is not made for farmers. It is made for the corporates who want to come into contact with the farmer. So we want not an amendment, but a repeal of this act. So this kind of act we don't want at all. This kind of contract farming model we don't want at all. This model is going to devastate the small farmer. So with these all three laws explained, I think I have made a case that we cannot do with the amendments. We cannot work with the amendments because any law out of these three remaining, rather this three is a package. So this package itself is a dangerous thing. So government wants to keep the package and want to make the changes which can be left open for further changes in the future when the things are better for the government. So we want a repeal of all these three laws. Last thing which I want to make like a moreover point, that government wants us to do clause by clause. We are telling the government that we have a problem with the intent and objective of these laws. The very objective of these laws is questionable. The objective is to introduce private players into the farming market, and this is questionable. This is undesirable on part of the farmers. We are farmer organizations. We don't want any private player, any private company, any big corporate house to come in our way. We have to look for the interest of the farmer. What kind of farmer we have in India? We have rain-fed. 60% of Indian farming is rain-fed farming. They are being roped in. No government is supplying them with investing them with infrastructure, but every government is trying to rope in some private players who can own this land first, come into contact with the small farmer, and then make the infrastructural capital. We don't want that. We want the government to invest in infrastructure in these rain-fed lands, and also the lands where we already have intensive farming, like in Punjab and Western UP and in Haryana. There we want to protect the interest of the farmer that we already have, and we have 75% of farmers who are owning less than 5 acres of land. So looking at their interest, any of these laws remaining with any number of amendments is not at all acceptable. It will devastate the farmer. So with this, I put forward this case in front of all those who have so far not been able to understand our logics because of the barrier of language. We want to put forward, and any inquiries are welcome, any questions are welcome, any comments are welcome. Thank you.